Leeann, first of all, thank you very much for allowing me the chance to put these questions to you this afternoon. I suppose it's fair to say your introduction to Hibs hasn't quite been the one that you thought it was going to be a few weeks ago.
I think that's fair, Grant. It's not as I anticipated, let's put it that way. It's been a challenging first few days, quite possibly the most challenging that any new CEO could face, but you know, I'm not fazed by it. We find ourselves in a very difficult situation, but we need to refocus, and it is what it is. I can't change it, so I just need to get on with the job. Was there a point, possibly as we got close to actually being relegated, that you thought of maybe walking away and making a different decision? No, that's not in my nature, unfortunately. For some may have said that, you know, there could have been opportunities for me to do that, but I'd made a decision that I was going to leave Motherwell and I wanted to come to Hibernian. I had the opportunity to do that, and it was irrelevant to me in terms of the league. Obviously it would have been preferable if it hadn't happened, because it would have meant that the plans that I've got, or the plans that are in place for football and non-football, could have been completed, you know, quicker, if you like. So there are considerations, but I didn't ever waver in the fact that I was going to come here. Were you involved in the contingency plans as relegation became a reality and then actually happened? Well, we tried to really do it properly. I remember I was the CEO of Motherwell up until actually Saturday of last week there, and you know, I think both clubs have principles, so we tried to do things properly. Obviously, when it was becoming more of a possibility, I did start to get a bit more involved, and as everybody knows, I went to the training facility last week. At that point, whilst I was still employed, but I felt that was important. You know, at a time where, you know, almost the worst that could have happened did actually happen, that I had to be there and actually, you know, be involved, if you like. What was that like? It was difficult, there's no doubt about it. I mean, that was my introduction to the management team. The facility itself, I had again made a judgment call not to go to the facility, to focus on my transition in terms of leaving Motherwell in a proper way. So it's not the best introduction, let's be honest. Nobody's happy about it. Quite a difficult day. It's been a very difficult week this week and last week. You can see by the strength and the kind of noise from the kind of broader supporter base that, you know, people are not in a great place at the moment, and I need to deal with that, and I need to try and resolve that as quickly as possible. So, not the best intro. Were you involved in the decision with regards to clearing out so many players? Not directly in that decision, no, but these players were out of contract, and I mean, we've got a plan for football as it stands at the minute. I'm in place now, and I'm going to be meeting with the manager at some point next week, and there's going to be a discussion around that and a discussion around the kind of direction that we're going to be taking. So, you know, the short answer to that is no. You mentioned the manager there. His position is also one of much speculation amongst a lot of Hibs fans. Is he going to be here next season? What's your relationship with Terry Butcher, and will he still be in the job when the season starts? Well, I met Terry for the first time in the capacity of him being the Hibernian manager last week when I went to the training facility. At that time, it was obviously emotions were very high. Relegation had just happened, and so, you know, and I'm still CEO of Motherwell at this point, so, you know, no decisions and no formal discussions can take place. So Terry went off to finish his family holiday. I think he had a few days left of that, and went off to the States and has since come back, and we've spoken on a number of occasions since. Plans to meet Terry next week, and you know, once we've had that conversation and once we've you know, come to a kind of conclusion in terms of the direction of the club, then I'll be able to come out and talk. But I mean, it was far too early to say or do anything at that point. And as my previous role was still intact, it wasn't appropriate either. So were the decisions with regards to the players, they were Terry and Morris's decisions? In terms of the players who left, yes. How do you see your relationship with the manager as we progress and move forward? How does it work for you? Does he have to run decisions by you, or do you give him a budget and he spends it as he wishes? How's that going to work? It works very differently at each club, I suppose. It depends on the relationship and the dynamic between the chief exec and the manager. Certainly, my experience has been that I've always been very much involved in the football side of things. I do understand football. You know, I've followed football for many years, and you know, part of my role as a CEO is to build value for the club and to make sure that we're spending in the right way, and that we're succession planning, so that we make sure that we've got a whole series of players coming through in various positions. Now, whether they're academy players, whether they're young players that we take from other areas, or whether they're players who are brought in to do a specific job, we take that decision collectively. Now, do I decide which players get signed if a manager comes and strongly recommends? Well, that's their judgment call, and I need to take a decision on whether they're backed or not. I mean, a lot of it is budget orientated as well. You know, you've got to be, at the end of the day, we all live in the real world, and the real world is that, you know, money, you've got to be careful with the budgets, and there isn't an endless supply of money here. So we have to come up with a football plan that looks towards the future. We've got a fantastic facility. I mean, it's an incredible facility for those who have not visited it. It is certainly one of the best facilities I've been at in Scotland. And we need to use it and perhaps use it differently. So I'll be focusing in that area. But, at my previous post, I met the players early. It was myself that had most of the dealings in that respect. And I don't see that changing.
A lot of the fans are patiently or impatiently waiting to see what shape and form the team is going to take for next season. Can you tell the fans that there are plans afoot and there's work being done at the moment to fill up this squad?
There's masses of work being done at the moment. I mean, first of all, I've got to take stock and then start to make the plans from there. I didn't come into the post cold. I knew I was transitioning. It had been agreed a couple of months ago. The board at Motherwell were aware of it, and obviously that transition was happening. So, I do have plans. There will be some changes that will come and will be announced in the next week or so. There's going to be quite a lot of focus on the academy and how that runs and how that's going to change. Supporters want to hear about signings, who's coming in, who's going out. It's too early to say these things yet. I mean, I'm only in post sort of 3-4 days now, but we're a football club. We need to get back to football business, and that means, getting the right team on the pitch, making sure that you've got the right support staff in place, and making sure that you're trying to sort of win matches. I mean, these are all basic things. So, although I'm sure many people would like to throw some names on the table at the moment, it's too early to do that. But we're working really, really hard. The management team have left, obviously, to go away on holiday. Terry's coming up next week, so that discussion will be had at that point, and then we'll take it from there. And as soon as it's clear, I'll come out and have a conversation.
We're in the Championship. Is the way forward for the club? Is their intention is to get out the first time of asking? Well,
that would be the absolute ideal. Of course, it would. Some could argue that the Championship this year is more interested in the Premier League. We've got Rangers, moved up, Hearts and ourselves unfortunately down in the Championship now. But it's a good league, it's a strong league. We are where we are. We can't get out of it unless we play our way out of it, and that is absolutely my determination to try and do that. Do we want to stay here forevermore? Absolutely not. No, we don't. And I'm determined that I'm going to try and bring together the best group of people, players, support staff, everything at the academy that we can possibly do to make that happen. But it isn't, it's not just football that needs to change at the football club. The non-football element of the football club needs to change as well. We need to tie that together. So there's a lot of opportunity here. People keep referring to the infrastructure. Of course, it's a fantastic infrastructure, and actually I think that is a bone of contention with supporters at the minute. Yes, we've got a great infrastructure both here and at the training centre, but we haven't had the team on the pitch. Well, actually, it's my role now to make sure that a change in direction, if you like, that I can actually bring that last part. It's been tried by my sort of predecessors. It hasn't worked, or it hasn't happened to the manner in which they would like. I think I can bring something to that. I've got a lot of experience. I made mistakes at Motherwell in year one, but I didn't make those mistakes in year two, and I became a better CEO for it. And I was in that post for 6 years, so I don't come into a football club cold. I've got some experience, and importantly, I've got great contacts, great connections, and good network there. So I feel, should I say confident? I feel optimistic.
I'll ask you about the infrastructure in just a moment, but just one final point with regards to the players and the budget that we will have as a club. Has that changed now that we've been relegated? Had we not been? Had we still been in the Premiership? Well,
it's all about what's affordability, isn't it? This leads on to other discussions and other issues. The affordability of a football club is all about the income that you can generate. You get into a situation where you're spending more money than you can generate, or a lot more money than you can generate, and if you continually do that over time, then there is only one answer, and that's not a good answer. So, of course, there needs to be a readjustment of that. Let's be honest. If I sit here and say no, we're going to spend exactly the same amount of money as we did last year, that wouldn't be telling the truth. But what we need to do is ascertain what that budget's going to be, and it will be a strong budget in comparison to the rest of the Championship. It has to be, and we need to be pushing forward to try and to make sure that we get the best value and the best players that we can for that money. But it's all about how much cash the club can generate, and that that's the important element here. So, and that's not me saying, guys, you have to have deep pockets, keep coming out and keep spending. Obviously, that would be the absolute ideal, but I know that supporters have been asked that on a number of occasions. Patience is a word that has been requested on a number of occasions as well. But, again, I'll refer to this point. I am actually only in post, so I do need a bit of time to be able to demonstrate that I do have the qualities required.
You mentioned that you're here. You've had an interesting first few days at Hibs. What can you say to the fans with regards to what's going on outside of the club at the moment? There's a lot of anger and frustration from the fans with regards to Mr. Petrie, your predecessor, and there's a feeling that if he's still here, he's still going to have a say in how things are done. He's still going to have a say in what decisions are made. What do you say to that?
I can be quite clear on that. I mean, I was running a football club, let's be honest, a very successful football club. And when I was approached to come here, that was one of my main concerns. Am I going to have autonomy to go and do the job that is required to be done at this football club? Let's be frank, it hasn't, Hibernian hasn't had the best on-field results in the last couple of years. I think it's a matter of fact. We haven't performed the way we need to. I saw an opportunity for me to be able to come in and improve on that. So I wasn't going to take a job where I walked away from complete autonomy, the absolute support of the owner and chairman at that point to actually do the job that was required, the absolute support of the board to do the job that was required to walk into another post where my hands were going to be tied. I think I've got enough integrity, and certainly I would hope reputation, that people would know that I wouldn't do that. So I guess the answer to your question is, I've got the ball now. The responsibility is on me. The focus needs to go on me now. It's the choices that I make and the recommendations that I make to the board are going to be the ones which hopefully are going to take the club forward and will be judged on. So to say that the chairman needs to go is in my view quite a simplistic approach, and actually probably quite an unfair one. I'm picking up the baton, if you like, and it's me that's going to have to take that responsibility. We've got a board of directors, we operate independently, and part of my viewpoint here is that we need to start acting, I say, more like a football club than a corporate entity, and that is the direction I want to take us in. So it has to be small steps. I don't come from this side of the country. I used to work in Edinburgh. The reality is I need to get to know the football club, and I need to get to know the supporters and a lot about the history. And just because I'm not East Coast or East Coast based doesn't mean I'm not fit for this job. I think I've got qualities that are really needed at this club.
So you can categorically say to the fans that the way forward is going to be your way forward, and nobody else will be guiding you or leaning on you to make decisions in other directions?
Categorically, and I can be asked that question any number of times and it will be the same answer. And I have to be judged on that. If I don't bring success to the football club, if things don't change, things need to change in a meaningful way quite quickly. And if that doesn't happen, then I'm quite happy to have that conversation again with anybody, whether it be in 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 2 years, whatever it might be. It has to be my responsibility. Otherwise, you need that leadership, I think, to have success and actually to be a catalyst to the people who work with you. And I'm very hands-on. I've always been very hands-on. I'm very operational focused as well. I do understand the minutiae of how a football club operates and runs, but at the same time, I've had the experience of working at a club and kind of taking that club through a kind of process and a transition. And I think any fair-minded person would say that my previous club is in a better position now than it was when I went in there. And I would like to think that will be the case with Hibernian too.